Good morning, everyone. I hope you all well. Happy Sunday, February 2nd. It feels like a good day here. So, why don't we take a moment and just sort of take a pause from getting here and sort of tune in. I have hopefully very quick teaching about a very important topic to continue with our breath work and moving to the next step with that. I hope everybody's been practicing, and I'm going to do my best to keep it as short as possible. But as I was going through in my mind on what to say, it kept growing and growing. So I'm going to do my best to keep it under 25 minutes. So why don't we get comfortable? Maybe at the beginning, people might be more comfortable sitting in a chair. But still, just stretch your legs a little bit and a little glass of water and calm the mind and try to be present. So let's just take a few moments and let's do that. So we can turn inwards. Could always say a little prayer. I just finished finding a good posture and getting ready, but I want to take a moment and pray. There's always an opportunity to find a moment to pray, especially when you're about to start something important. You get everything kind of set up, you're prepared, but it's important, especially when you have greater ability when you do regular meditation and prayer practice, because you could easily turn inwards and relax in that inner space, and you release and trust that Hashem has you. And in that release, there's less resistance to that divine flow that animates us, that wisdom from Hashem's Shekinah, His energy, His presence, which is very much here on earth. We kind of step out of the way in that unconditional trust that He's got you, that there's a unconditional holding to assist through life's struggles, and that you're not walking every day alone. You may have a partner, you may have a family, but in your mind and in your thoughts and in your decisions, there is a certain singularity of ourselves. But there is more than that. It's that energy is intertwined with Hashem's energy of life and His presence, especially for religious, spiritual people. So we are never alone, and we learn through our practice, our prayers, listening to teachings, reading the Tanakh, spiritual music, spending time in nature, that inner reflection, the stepping out of society to get a different perspective than the rat race that modern society is, getting caught up and just not able to take that breath, that slight pulling back, where we start contemplating the nature of our lives, our existence, what our purpose is, what makes us happy, not happy, healthy, not healthy, troubled, not troubled, agitated or at peace. And so by taking that moment and stepping back and developing that ability, which the pranayamas I'm going to teach really are going to help, we are able to step back from the forward manifestation of outwards in our senses and step inwards. Our senses are turned towards our body, to our energy, and our focus of our awareness is inside, and we learn to relax. By doing that, the energy goes up. And we learn to then relax. And we relax what's called into presence. P-R-E-S-E-N-C-E. My little accent's catching up with me. It's important. Into being present. I want to make sure there's no confusion there. And once one normally does this with closing the eyes, when you find that inner center, you can open your eyes and you look at the room, and it looks very different. Things are still, because our mind is still. The room's always still, but we never quite see it in that way because there's just so much energy going on with us. So I basically just did the practice and started into my teaching. But do you see? I didn't plan any of that. I was going to show being present, and then it linked right into a teaching of pranayama. So it's something about trusting that flow. And as one clears one's habitual ways of acting and perceiving and thinking, all mind-oriented, and stepping back to more innate wisdom, and you develop confidence that more inner wisdom isn't going to lead to disaster in your life, that it's not reckless, that it's aligned and correct in what it's pulling you towards, then you learn through time to trust it and you relax into it. Decisions or actions or day-to-day things, you don't know why you're pulled here as opposed to there, and then when you analyze in hindsight, you realize, oh my God, that actually was the best decision, but there was no way for me to have known that from using the mind. There was too many variables, or there was another factor that you didn't even know about. But somehow by going into the flow, you navigated a situation perfectly, which otherwise may have been navigated just as well, but by pure luck. But that comes with time and trust when you've aligned the energies in your body, so there is a genuine flow. A lot of people in this world, oh, I felt to do that. Oh, I felt to do that. And I'm, pardon my French, yeah, with the energy of fucked upness. And then you see all the actions and the crazy and the repercussions which are off, and it ends up to be ego driven. Or the minds are, all the energy patterns in their brains and their body is just so messed up, their feeling is really not what they should be following. Do you see the difference here? It's very important. You do your work, you clean up, you clear up, you line up. And then with the small, not so important things, you test it out. You learn to let go into where you feel like, oh, you get up, it's just simple thing like, normally I do my, let's say somebody does normally their workout at 8, they get up at 5:30 and like, oh, I feel like doing it now. And it's a small feeling like, I should do it now. And then you do it now and you realize the sun's not out, it's fresh, it's cool. You see the effect it has on your body. It's something you've really never done before. And you realize, oh, and it feels better and you have a better day. You realize, oh, that was really skillful. There was a lot of wisdom and trusting and instinct. And you realign to do your workout at 5 a.m. It shifts your energy and you have actually better days and better relationships over something like that. And it's sort of learning to gauge. That music, I don't know. I'm always depressed. Why do I listen to it? Oh, the words are really, let me stop it for a while. You have that sort of perspective. So a lot of what we're doing, because that inner core of wholeness, that inner core of purity lives within us. Right? I've been teaching that a lot. So through the prayers, sacred names of God, meditation, sacred music, walking in nature and calming our emotions. What's happening? What are all these things have in common? The animated energy, the waves, the emanation from all our lives, the momentum, the disturbances, the good, the bad, the ugly, just the complete momentum that, we've picked up naturally, we all have it, starts relaxing and releasing. Right? So when that happens, there's a fundamental relaxation and we become more present. That energy comes inwards. and we connect with the upper Sephiroth, with more of our divine self in our hearts, and God's flow within us. So take a minute, look inwards, relax your body, just try to close your eyes from the energy being emanated outside, turn inwards and just relax and be for a moment. Okay. So I see a whole cycle on teaching pranayama coming. And I'm going to try to just go through briefly a few things as I teach the next step in our pranayama work that we've been doing for a month or two. But I want to explain conceptually what's going on a little more so people understand why we're doing it. And I could easily go on for an hour and a half. So I'm really going to try, but to make it shorter. But this is unusual for religious practices of the West. So I want to explain why it's important, but I don't want to launch into a detailed teaching because even what I'm going to say now is not at the level of depth that I wish to say it when I really teach about it. Because I really want to make it complete. So it's sort of really all explained. I'm intellectual by nature, so I really like to find all of this very fascinating. And it helps understand what's going on in our bodies and affects our religion and our emotions. And so by understanding it, when something arises, when we do the practice, we have the knowledge from our minds, right? We use our brains to understand what's going on, and then we know how to navigate it. Or we realize, this is normal, and this is what's going on, and this is how we go about it, or this is how I relate to it, right? So it's important to have a certain amount of knowledge. So pranayama, prana is the life force, the vital energy that's within us, as we've discussed before, and it's considered to be carried through the breath. It's sort of the energy within our body. No prana, no life. And yama means control. So we're learning to consciously regulate the breath to influence one's body, nervous system, and mind. It enhances mental clarity, emotional balance, and physical well-being. But there's entire spiritual religious components that help us to become more present, more aligned, to act in a more sane, balanced and less reactive way, which is why we use it. Causes the ego to back away. So as I was contemplating this teaching, I was thinking how to explain it. So a lot of my teachings, we work with deeper levels of religion and spirituality that works directly with our energy and mind, right? So more esoteric things, which I find fascinating. It helps because we're working directly with the energy that's beneath our minds, which causes us to think or act in certain ways. So you could work directly with, let's say you have a block or something, or, well, we all have a sense of a wall, right? Who we are, what we are. It's kind of baked in when you're an adult at some point, right? So let's just call it a wall, right? So you could work at chipping away the wall to change it, right? To change behaviors or thinking or get closer to God, but God is sort of behind or beneath the wall, right? So I think a lot of religion is working at that level. Just the way Western religion is. But there's a way to work with the energy within the wall and behind the wall. You could use sound waves or things that pass through the density of the wall and work at its fundamental nature that holds up the wall. And that's the quickest way for spiritual progress. It's hard to work density to density. You work from within at the molecular or energetic basis, which forms the wall. Do you see? It's from the inside, work with that, and the outside basically reflects the orientation of and balance of one's on the inside. Do you see? There's energy, then there's thought, and then there's action or not action. It's the energy is the basis of everything, and everything's on top. So you could try to change your actions. Oh, I can't do this, but we feel pulled. Oh, I had no control. Oh, I felt I had to do that, right? If you think about it, that's all energetic propulsions in one direction or the other. But if you learn to work and regulate your energy, then there's no pull for a certain action. And you could remain in that presence, and you really act from that cathedral within. That cathedral within us is quiet, spacious, beautiful, luminous, stained glass, or a temple, right? Beautiful, or in nature, pastel colors, the sun is, not too high on the horizon, there's a lot of shading, and there's a little glimmer on the stream of luminescent colors in a pale blue. Do you see? That's the calmness. That's the calmness within us. If we learn to live there, it manifests appropriately. And so by touching in with that inner energy, our thoughts reflect that. Our actions reflect that. Our spoken words reflect that. See? So at the beginning, by taking that space, which we did, turning within, which we learned to do through our practices, right? That's why we do them. We reorient ourselves and we learn to live from a deeper part within ourselves. Well, from our inner throne. From within our cathedral, where we're in control, seated, present, right? We are there emanating from within. not pulled by the 10 karmic winds and all sorts of this. We have solidity by being open and not reactive. So the pranayama works directly with the inner winds, the inner energies of our bodies. Yes? This is why it's important. Calm wind, calm inside, calm mind. We can tap into the divine flow because it's within us, it's outside of us. We can feel it. We're open, we're more porous, we're calm. A calm lake can see the bottom rocks, like Lake Tahoe, apparently. I've never been there. Apparently it's so still, you can see like a mile down. Well, whatever the depth is, it's really, really like, apparently it's translucent. Why? It's very still. So you could see its fundamental basis, which you could really tap into the Shekinah of Hashem, which is always there, but we're too turbulent to be with that flow. It's not the flow of our ego, it's not the flow of our habitual actions, it's not the flow of a disturbed mind, disturbed energies that has no discipline. This requires discipline, practice and learning to stay still, presence, openness, receptive, without filters or colors or things from our minds, our past, our energies, our emotions that kind of disturb the clear seeing. Our glasses are clean. They don't have a tint, a color. They're not smudgy. They're not dirty. We've learned to clean ourselves. Pure perception. Our minds see exactly what's there. We hear exactly what's there. We perceive, using our eyes and our minds, what's there. And we have the stillness to be able to handle what we hear and see and what the ramifications of that really are. There's no more fooling. Yes? Then we enter into presence. And then we're able to touch in with the upper sephirots of wisdom and proper actions and the energy of Hashem from the Ein Sof comes through our body in a proper flow. Right. So the pranayama is engaging with the breath and the channels within our energetic body, which I've spoken about several times, through the nerves, and yes, chakras are real, through the central channel, yes, it's real, trust me. You'll get a feeling of it as you do these practices and you'll discover them for yourselves. You learn to unblock them so the energy flows properly. So our tree, the sap of the tree, the water, the life force that's in a tree, we learn to clear the veins. So we grow tall and strong and bear good fruit. But if there's damage in the trunk, the veins are twisted, the tree ain't healthy. The fruit's not going to be as good or as strong, or it might not even bear any fruit. A storm comes, the roots aren't properly done, and the tree could topple over. Yes, so with us. So, oh, So I'm going to get back to this point here. So the pranayama, as we clear the energy in our body, restores proper balance. Our emotions, our thinking, and our actions. And even can lead to better health physically. There's a theory that energetic imbalances could lead to cancer. And, possibly, I believe possibly so. I haven't really studied it, but I can tell you what's obvious to all of us. A lot of stress and tension could lead to heart attacks for people. So energy leading to physical manifestation. I think we could all agree to that, right? A lot of stress or whatever for people who have the propensity could lead to high blood pressure, right? Hypertension, right? So I think that we can understand. So we'll leave it to that example because that's clear to all of us. So by working with the energy, there's more energy for the body to heal and more energy for longevity. People who have stressful lives don't live as long because the body gets used up. It burns out, right? Faster. It's like a candle, burns faster. Yes? I think that's one reason our poor little animals, our cats and dogs and our little animal friends don't live as long. Because if you look, their heartbeat is faster, their body temperature is faster, they are able to perceive higher frequencies, they're more energetic, they're spun faster. So if they were slower, I think they would have a greater longevity. So do you see? So we are learning to balance and even. So what it does, this is leading into a full teaching. I'm not going to apologize because it's coming out really well. So I'm going to go with this flow. So breathwork leads to increased oxidation of your body and improves circulation and detoxifies the cells. And at the end, I'm going to give a new step to our teachings, which is really going to hit it home. But it's good that I lay it out because now we're going to really hit the ground running with this breath work. So it improves stagnation, so more blood and energy moving to the muscles, joints, and organs. It increases the blood flow. So the blood flow itself is the movement of energy. Movement of a liquid is a form of energetic movement. Do you see? It's just more physically visual, but that doesn't mean behind it with the nerve cells and the more subtle nerve endings, which are more very, very energetic in nature, which are real. That doesn't mean that also doesn't happen on the even deeper level than the movement of blood or liquids in the body. It also increased the depth of our breath in our lungs. Greater lung capacity calms the mind and also helps with the energy flow. We take deeper breaths because our lungs are larger and more expansive. That helps with longer life. It helps with the flow of the energy, helps calm the mind. So these are some of the physical manifestations. Here is some emotional manifestations. It releases blockages, stored traumas, suppressed feelings. The deep breathing stimulates the vagus nerve, which regulates emotional states. Sounds scientific. So, long exhalations, which we're going to do, helps release trapped emotions by calming the limbic system. Just taking that at face value, I'm not a scientist. But by releasing from a long breath, you will come to find as you do this practice that it calms your mind and energy leaves. It could feel very dense. If you have the perception, or more energetic perception, you could actually see the breath come out as black or a dark gray. And these are all the dense energies that are leaving, and there are visualization techniques which I will show where you can visualize gray coming out. And honestly, at some point, you will actually see energy coming out as dense and gray, especially when you do it the first couple times per sitting, and then it'll come out clearer and clearer. There's things, densities that are leaving, that live within our bodies, that causes blocks. It's like that grime on the wall of the cathedral. We're learning to clean. This is a form of a sponge. It's a form of a way of just kind of scrubbing and moving out the gunk, the schmutz. Yes? And it stimulates the emotional release, which at times could feel intense a couple minutes afterwards, or even for a couple days. But it leads to a deep healing. It re-regulates. It clears emotional imbalances. And it breaks up stagnant energy, which is blocked in certain parts of the body, and permits it to flow and redistribute through the body evenly. All right, so I have more. I'm going to take a pause here. And the more in-depth teaching, I'm going to leave to next week, the continuation. Because I've already said a lot. I'm going to touch on two points. And then touch slightly on what I'm going to mention more in depth next week. You can view this. You have beavers, the animals that put dams in creeks made out of wood so the creek doesn't flow anymore, right? The little brown animals with the big tail, right? I'm trying to describe it for people who aren't native speakers of English. So we have these little dams all over our body. We go slowly, because there's a lot of energy blocked up there. So this is the caution flag, big yellow flag waving in the air at us all. Okay? Careful. The best way to take away a beaver dam is to slowly take off some of the sticks on one side of the dam so the little stream starts flowing, and the water starts regulating slowly and moving from one side to the next. I've seen on the news people blowing up these dams with dynamite. The poor beaver is washed away. That aside, the torrent of water that gushes down the stream is intense. It washes things away. It's so unnecessary. It's powerful, it's overwhelming, and could sweep the human being away if they're not careful, because there's a lot of pooled up emotions and energy that's been blocked possibly for a couple decades. You're getting where I'm going towards? So you want to start slowly, so the energy begins to flow in measured amounts. This is a technique that you do not rush. You want to chip away slowly, making there more flow as you eliminate the beaver dams. I think that's a very good example. I was trying to think of an example this morning, and that works really well. With time, they'll go away. Trust me, there's no rush. You do not want to rush this. Somebody who's very well practiced can do pranayamas, very advanced ones, which I'm not teaching here today by a long shot, where you churn out so much energy and you go for every little last miracle of a small little dam, but you also know how to regulate if you trigger a torrent of emotions and how to manage that. But then you're already at an Olympian level. So you want to go slowly. Why? Even if you go slowly, you may find afterwards, for 5-10 minutes after the session, you feel a little lightheaded, you feel a little agitated, you feel a little manicky. Your emotions may be a little bit all over the place. Why? An energetic block has let go, and there's a flow of energy in your body that's flowing at a faster rate as things unblock themselves, which is part of the process. So with our meditation practice, we learn to remain still and not reactive and just allow it to kind of work its way through as the body rebalances itself. Okay? Controlled, right? You don't want it too intense because it could overwhelm you. Sometimes it could last for a couple days if you really unlock something. Not a problem if you don't react to it. You may find your emotions heightened, that everything is annoying you. But you have the awareness, because I'm warning you now, this could happen, to realize it's not the person, it's that you did your pranayama and you're a little agitated. So somebody kind of annoying you or pissing you off, right? American English, so vivid. Would you realize you don't react to it? Because if you didn't do your pranayama, it wouldn't agitate you at all or not nearly as much. So you learn to re-gauge and understand what's going on in your life with an understanding that the energy is what it is and it's working its way through. But if you do not have that capacity and awareness to regulate your reactions into more of an action as opposed to being reactive, notice the difference. You can hurt relationships and you could look a little crazy to people, which is why it's important to go slowly. You start slowly and you will quickly arrive. So, and you learn what's slowly, what's faster. Well, you try it lightly. You don't feel anything. The next day you go a little more. And the next day you go a little more. You feel, oh, I'm a little agitated. See how long it lasts. Think, oh, I can do this. This is fine. It's a normal clearing. It's manageable. Great. Always keep it within manageable, even for myself. And you might be like, oh, I can't do this for 2-3 days. I feel a little tingly, a little agitated. Well, you don't do it for 2-3 days. You learn when you come back to a baseline, then you do it again. And with time, you're going to do it in an increasingly more intense way. As the beaver dams clear and that force of pulled up energy, prana, life force, stagnant, or just, well, it's stagnant because it's blocked, starts flowing and the pool goes down that's behind it, so the pressure of the movement is reduced because it's a lot has already moved around, then you can go increasingly deeper and stronger and more intense pranayamas, because now you're really going into the bedrock of the stream and you're cleaning off the dirt that's on the bottom. You're opening, widening the stream. There's no more beaver dam. So your whole process is different. You're more controlled. Does that make sense? This is why I keep saying go slowly, and why we spend a month and a half with just breathing in and out 3 times. And I hope people have been practicing. You have to understand your body. If you're very light and thin and your energy is fragile, or you're going through a period where your energy feels more fried, very little may go a long way, or it's just not the time for you to do it. If your body tends to be denser, thicker boned, maybe even heavy set, I'm not sure. Not sure about that. But if you feel your body's a little denser, then you can go possibly harder than somebody who's very thin, especially at the beginning. But you have to gauge for yourself. So you start at a safe level, which we'll start together today. And then you reflect afterwards. You have that pause afterwards where you try to be present. That's part of the pranayama practice. And see how it went. Oh, I didn't feel anything. Okay. Well, try at the same level for 2-3 days, but sometimes it takes a little time. If you're still not feeling anything, then you could do it with a deeper inhalation and a stronger exhalation. And see how that is. Everybody's different. And if you're going through a stressful time in your life and you're already agitated, maybe not the best time, but then it also clears things out and you might feel calmer. But you have to see how it acts or reacts to you. So there's awareness and intelligence that has to happen when you do this practice. Correct? So that's sort of what I really want to say at the beginning. I'm sorry, let me close my window. Actually, my feet have fallen asleep, so there's no closing the window. So does that make sense? So it's very safe. But we are fundamentally causing our energetic system to realign. We're going directly at the schmutz. And we're not blowing on it, though it is using the breath. So I do want to not say that. It's not a light treatment. It goes deep, and it's very, very effective. So we need to go carefully and mindfully. And there's no problem. There's no problem undoing deep beaver dams. You just go about it intelligently, that you don't cause a flood of emotions. If somebody's prone to manic, might not be the best technique for you because your energy already tends to flow very easily, too easily, hence the mania. There are other things you can do. The names of God is extremely powerful and can take you all the way. Your energy probably already tends to flow really well, and you don't want to have a blockage, blow out, and then you become manic. Especially if you're not taking the medications that prevent mania. So I would just say, probably not for you. At least for right now, until I'm able to do more research on my end. But there's a lot of other techniques. Okay? This technique could help clear anger, can help clear depression, fuzzy thinking, not able to think clearly. It's powerful. And it's something we're going to do. And people will see the benefit. By being clearer, you're able to connect with Yahweh in a deeper way. You're able to feel and hear and appreciate and understand the wisdom That's in the Tanakh, in the Bible. You will better understand and see teachings even in the blow of the wind through the leaves of a tree. Yes, very much so. You can get a teaching from a bird. There are just so much more perception that's available when we are clearer. And clarity comes from the proper flow of energy within our body. Hence why I'm teaching this carefully and slowly. It's not dangerous, but if you do it wrong, you're going to have a lot of energy on your hands. And we've all gone a little too far at times. Just be calm, rest. Better not have the heart-to-heart talk with people when you're triggered, right? Eat denser foods. Showers not too hot. I wouldn't do too cold either. And just rest and heal and be in bed and let it pass like a wave. And on the other side, you'd be like, oh my God, I cleared so much. Yeah. You can clear a lot with intensity, but you have to know how to navigate that energetic storm. You're like a ship on an energetic storm. How do you navigate it properly? And that's a skill you learn with time as well. Right? But best to go slowly, best to learn with your body. My body's thin. So the way I engage will be different than somebody who's a big football player with thick bones and lots of muscle. I'm not thin. I'm not thick. I don't play football. I did it once. I got tackled. Oh, every bone hurt. I don't understand how people get tackled and they get up. It took me 30 seconds to get up, and I swore I would never play that sport again, and I never did. It hurt. It's a body type. So somebody who's in their 20s, would engage with this practice different than somebody's in their 80s. Or somebody in the 80s might not engage at all. It's not for them. I don't know. So you just really need to see and go slowly and know yourself. In a way, everything I teach is to know ourselves. Understand what triggers us, understand our pasts, understand to release and heal so we can come to know our true selves. True selves with a capital T and selves with a capital S. And it's not an ego-based selves. Our true selves are the pure men and women and children of Yahweh. Our higher vibrational selves. That's our true selves. Pure. And this is a means to connect with that. Not hitting a wall, but looking at the energy on which our wall rests. The energy that is underlaying the wall. How to say this in easy English? The energy on which the wall is built. We're going at the movement of everything on which everything else rests, which looks solid, but really is not. Everything's in movement in our minds, in our bodies, and in our worlds. And we're working with the movement aspect through the use of the breath. So we are going to do the practice. Briefly explain. We're going to work with the left and right nostrils. Closing one, breathing out, exhale, inhale, and then exhale through the other one, and then we're going to do 3 times each side, and then we're going to do 3 with both nostrils open. Women and men have the mass solar and lunar energy channels on the opposite sides of their body. The men, in the esoteric tradition I was trained, which is the yogis in the caves we've all heard about, is on the left side. The women is on the right. So for the men, the solar is on the left, the lunar is on the right. For women, the lunar is on the left and the solar channel is on the right. I'm going to explain the lunar and solar and how it deals with emotions and how we perceive the world next week. I've already decided that's going to be moved to next week. We're not going to, otherwise I'll be speaking for 2 hours. The central channel is basically what we call the Kundalini channel, yes. When there are imbalances on the lunar or solar sides, it leads to an improper flow, which causes depression or anger, emotional imbalances. It's an energetic imbalance in the body, correct? When the energy flows proper, anger becomes skillful motivation or calmness. It's balanced with the lunar, which is calm. On the balanced side of the lunar. The unbalanced side of the lunar could be depression, apathy, lack of action. The balanced side of the solar is energy and action. Do you see? It's not so much the male or female aspect of our species, right? These are more metaphorical aspects. When somebody is moving and balancing, more of the energy goes through the central channel and there's less on the left or the right, and they enter into presence. And we could equate that through the Kabbalistic teachings as the Ein Sof channeling through the person in a clearer way. And the left and right channels have all the positive qualities. When we do the pranayama and we're putting the air, so as a man, I would start with the left nose closed, and I would exhale through the right. This would exhale the energy starting with the lunar, right? And the women would also start with the lunar, but they're going to block the right nostril first. You start with the lunar channel. It starts clearing by moving the energy through the different left and right channels, which clears. And when we do both open, that energy that we've sort of moved through and pushed through slowly to unblock that beaver dam, right? By going through both, that energy is now being asked to move through the central channel. That opens a flow and gives it a place for it to leave. That's in alignment with the energetic constitution of our body. And the energy in our body through the different chakras begin to rise. Okay, I've taught a little bit about this. This is all real. I'm going to give more teachings on this, and it's really going to make sense. Some teachings given on this 2-3 months ago, I want to say in early October. I think I created the teachings on the Tree of Life. I think it's a separate playlist on my YouTube channel. You can go looking at that. These are real. It's the energy that exists in our body, how it flows. So we're working on clearing and rebalancing. We're removing blocks so it flows properly. So somebody who's more prone to anger becomes more reflective and learns different ways of expressing themselves that doesn't deal with yelling or anger, which damages relationships and causes all sorts of problems. And the person feels guilty afterwards, and all the stuff. Or leads to somebody who's very depressed and meek, doesn't express themselves, and therefore they have problems to motivation or standing up for themselves. So it creates a proper balance. Yahweh is balanced. Divinity is balanced. Our nature is balanced. Not too passive, not too active. If we do end up yelling, there's a reason to break through the energy, to cut through. It's not through anger, it's to sort of put down a disturbance. There's a place for everything, but is it balanced or not? A kid's about to put his hand in the light socket. Of course you're going to yell, stop. Skillful, right? There's an argument in the room and it's degrading. You see it's going to really get out of control. You can't say, oh, please stop, right? You might have a very aggressive tone and actually yell to be on top of all the other yelling to get it to stop. Do you see? I like using sort of extreme examples because it's very clear. But also, when you want to explain something to someone and there's a problem, often a soft tone with explanation and kindness could actually be more conducive to having the right understanding and response. So this is learning to balance our energy so we don't react, but we learn to act from a place of presence, a place of wisdom. Do you see how this can lead us along the spiritual path in a more powerful and quicker way? You can pray to Yahweh, and it might happen instantaneously, but I'm not going to say it won't, but you say, God, give me more patience, right? And you pray for it, give me patience, give me patience. So helpful. I am all about that. Reading the Tanakh on passages on patience and looking at examples of people who were not patient and God's reaction to them and the teachings on what might help them, speaking to one spiritual leader about being patient. Great, wonderful. So helpful. Do that. But also, how about also working with the energetic causes of impatience? Right? So psychological, working with a therapist, realizing, this happened in my childhood, this parent did this. Very important to understand the underlying causes. Or it leads that some violence happened to you as a child and it's manifesting in this way. So important to work through. And now you're relating closer to the energy, right? The trigger. Right? Trigger that block that's causing that imbalance, right? But this gets beneath that. We're dealing with the flow of the energy and not having to explore what it is and why or anything. But as we undo that block, there could be memories that come up. There could be emotions that are dammed up. So if we're impatient, we might become really more impatient during that time. And that's the importance of having that solid foundation that we've been building for the last 2 years. Or if people are new, realizing the importance of doing this practice, or the meditation and the prayer and relaxing and stretching and doing some cardio at the gym. So the pressure in our body is already lower. So when we do trigger a memory or something, we have the room to process it. Our glass, our wine glass, our water glass is not so full that if there's a little more, it overflows. See how all my teachings are linking back up like I promised they would? Every component is important because it's all a part of that mixture that leads to a certain end. So if you're starting, maybe you want to focus more on your meditation and creating that space first before you do the pranayama. But my teachers taught this to beginning students, and it helped them from the beginning, which is fine. Just you go slowly with the breath work. It's light inhalations, light exhalations. If you do a very deep inhalation to like you're filling up your lungs to the point that it feels like it's going to burst, and you're exhaling, so every micro little oomph of oxygen is out of your lungs, that goes deep. And yes, it is a technique for more advanced people when you feel comfortable and you've done it for a while and you know that it's not going to trigger an avalanche of a shattered dam with a flood of water and motions, reaction, tingling, feeling a little high and manic for a couple days. How do you work with that? Do you have the skills? Are you able to handle that and not be reactive as you go to work or everything else? Or you have a vacation and therefore you're okay to deal with that on your vacation. Like I've gone to Joshua Tree. I made the mistake of going Yosemite when I was already a little triggered. The granite's high vibrational. I went through something for 2-3 days, very hard, of emotions and oh my God. But then it cleared. You see, but you're able to handle that. So we go slowly. Okay? So this is also why if people are prone to mania, I would suggest go other techniques, at least for now, until I'm able to study that a little more in that regard. But it might not be for you. Because if you do hit a spot where the energy flows more, someone like me who's not prone to mania, well, I have it for a day or two, whatever. But for somebody who's prone to mania, that might trigger a whole manic episode, especially if you're not taking medication, which doesn't pull back in a couple days and actually could lead to a full manic manifestation. So you see, so we have to work with where we are and what our constitution is. Yes? And we have to be intelligent and careful. The fact that I'm only on the internet is not different than if you were in front of a physical teacher, because these teachers have a lot of students and often it's hard to communicate with them. So he gives the instruction and then he hopes everybody has the wisdom when he gives the cautions, which is what I've just done, to be careful. There's not a lot of what one teacher called, hand-holding, because it's everybody's personal path. Like, I don't know what it's like to be thick-boned footballer and doing these practices. I don't know. I'm thin. I don't know what it is if somebody's a little more overweight, what it's like, or if somebody's 85. I'm not 85. I'm not sure what it's like if you're a teenager. If you're healthy, you're not. You're in distress, you're not. It all is different variables. So you start slowly and come to know yourself and come to work with the technique, and you find the right balance on doing it, and it will change with time. As you clear the blockages, you can go deeper and deeper, and I will eventually give more advanced instructions on to really how to churn out that energy. And believe me, I love this stuff. But right now, I can't do it with you. I'm a little fried, unskillful. You see? And other times, I've done this with more, and visualizations, and there's movements, and there's things you do with the breath deep down inside, and you could move it within your body, and you really go somewhere. Like to the point you walk out in shorts and short sleeves in 20-degree weather, Fahrenheit, that's below 0 Celsius, and there's steam coming off your body and you're overheating. More advanced. But there's a lot you can do it, and you do it in a safe way. there's a lot that can be done here, which I don't think, that's not for me, and it's not for this, and it's not religiously grounded. That's just more, just working with energy. But there's things you could do to go deeper, not in that way, in different ways, to bring up deeper levels of the energy, to get into the dirt of the stream and bring out the muck, so you get more onto the bedrock and everything's sort of clear. With time, but you have to kind of work with it where you are. So you go slowly and you come to know yourself, and you know when to do deeper. So I suggest people go light, like what we're going to do, for at least a couple days and see how you feel. I think most people in a couple days will feel a little something, and maybe they want to take for a day or two and let it settle. That's what I suggest at the beginning. If you feel something like, oh, I'm a little agitated, don't do it again until you settle. Do not amp it up. Do not increase the pressure. Now, if you're an advanced spiritual practitioner and you have the capacity and you know you can handle this, then still start slowly, but you could ramp it up faster. But then you have the knowledge of yourself, and you've probably done similar practices or not. But, and if you tend to be denser, maybe you need to push a little more. But then at the same time, when it does break away, it could break away faster, and you have a little bit more of a flood. So I would tend, go slowly. I'm conservative. I'm risk adverse. I do not like taking risks by nature. And I think that's just wise here. So it's the yellow flag. And for people who are prone to mania, I would just suggest it's a red flag. Just don't go there. Your flow is already much more flowing than most people. I don't think you really need this per se as much. I think things to lie on the ground and calm and find more peace and more water and more lunar and less fire, I think would be more conducive to doing that. And maybe I'll explain some of those techniques in the future. So let's do it quickly. I'm glad I took this time to explain it in this way. I wanted to make it quick. But, it's not obvious on why we do this when we're religious. Why are we doing this? This is something different, but I think now people understand. And next week we'll discuss the different channels and the central channel. But right now we're going to go to the practice, okay? So if people could sit in front of their prayer space. So we're going to do this in a religious way. So if you light your candle and put up your incense, and then sit back in a comfortable position. For people, and please don't hurt yourselves, who do the Vajra position, the full lotus, it's extremely balanced, especially for pranayamas. So if somebody is only able to hold the position for 10-15 minutes, these are the 10-15 minutes where you hold the position. Because the nadis and the energy channels are perfectly aligned in this position. It took me many years to be able to do this position. It's not easy. But if you can, this is where you do it. If not, you find a position that's comfortable for you. And in the full Vajra position, for people who have the capacity, please, because the energy channels in the esoteric tradition I was taught are flipped between men and women. If you're a man, the left foot is the first one you put up against the right leg. And then the left one goes on top. For women, it's reversed. The right foot goes in first on top of the left thigh. And then the right one goes on top. Okay? It's working with the lunar and the solar channels because they go through the whole body. So light the incense and take a moment to be in front of your prayer space and ask Yahweh to bless your practice, that He may help you to get to know Him better and to live a healthier, more balanced life, a good life with good acts and deeds, and working with wisdom and alignment, and to be less reactive, more compassionate, with greater happiness, and being able to perceive the beauty of life and the beauty of nature. Does that make sense? Okay. All of which, by the way, are qualities when the energy flows more through the central channel, and the lunar and the solar channels on the left and right side are in balance with less blocks. Yes? Okay. Actually, what I realized, don't light the incense, please turn it off. Because when we do breathing exercises, you're literally going to inhale it maybe in a deeper way. Just if you lit it, it's fine. It's a little bit in the background, but you don't want to have too much in the room because, it might aggravate certain people. And we are doing a breathing exercise. We don't want incense to go too deep into the lungs. So we call in God, and you use the name that you're practiced in, and you ask God to bless your practice. And this is how we bring divinity into our practice. So we have the blessing of God and ask Him to keep the practice safe, and for us to get the most benefit from it, so we can come into greater wholeness with Him and be ever better. Yes? So this doesn't have fully everything in the full technique yet. We're not going to move the body yet. We're going to work of breathing in through the different nostrils. And actually, I feel aligned enough after speaking with you and called to do it with you. That I didn't expect. But I think just speaking about it helped clear things within me, which kept me from doing it. Okay? So we want the back straight and calm. So with the hand to block different nostrils, it's just easy. We're not going to be too fancy. There are very fancy ways of putting the fingers, but let's just keep it simple. You're going to use the inside of the thumb and the inside of the first finger. So if you want to block the right nostril, you just move the thumb over the left nostril. I'm sorry, if you want to blow out through the right nostril, you just block the left with the thumb. And then if you want to blow out through the left nostril, you just move the first finger next to the thumb up against the right nostril. And then the thumb moves off to the side. They're separated by an inch or two, whatever feels comfortable. And then you blow out through the left. So it's just a slight movement of the hand, depending on which finger blocks. I'm literally doing it as I'm speaking to you, right? What we're going to do is, so for men, you're going to block the left nostril and blow out the right first. Women are going to block the right nostril and blow out the left to begin, right? Because the solar channel and the lunar channels are flipped. You want to blow out through the lunar first. It's just the way the technique is done. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to do 3 on each side. So 3 times the right nostril will be blocked, 3 times the left nostril will be blocked. And then we're going to just put the hand down, and then we're going to breathe in and out through both nostrils 3 times at the end. So we are clearing the solar, well, for a man, well, doesn't matter. We're clearing the lunar and then the solar, right? 3 times. And then both kind of clears the energy through the central channel, because both nostrils are going 3 times. And then we're just going to sit in presence, looking at our shrine, and just mind calm, not looking intently, but just being present and feeling what we feel in our body. Yes, that's where you get that feedback. How agitated is the energy? How do I feel? Right? But you want to be present. So it's not too much analysis, but just be aware and present, and just try to relax in that space. And after you finish the practice, then you use your mind, the proper use of the mind, to assess, to judge. How did it go? How do I feel? Do I like this practice? What happened? Did any energy block out? Was it too much? Do you think it wasn't enough? Did you feel anything? Right? You might want to write it down if you're not going to remember clearly. And then the next day you do it again light. And after 3 or 4 days of doing it very lightly, I would take a day or 2 off and then assess. Maybe I do it a little heavier on the exhale, a little deeper inhale with a deeper exhale. Right, so normally you do a deeper inhale with a commensurately more intense exhale. What you breathe in, you kind of want to breathe out. So if it's an 80% of capacity inhale, it's an 80% of capacity exhale. Yes? And then you increase it, how you feel, 90%, 100, completely full, and then a more very intense exhale, or overcapacity to an exhale that's completely removing every drop of energy out of you. But believe me, if you do that, you will clear stuff. So that will get intense. So you really want to go slowly and see. And if you start feeling a little unbalanced, you might want to stop for a couple days or a week or 2. Let it settle. You're learning. It's like riding a bike. You start with the training wheels, you learn, then you do go more and more and more as you learn the right balance and how to go about it. You get tired quickly when you learn to ride a bike, or even at 10 speed. Your nerves are fried after 20 minutes when you start with a 10 speed. It's a new thing. So after 20 minutes, you're not going to do a 2-hour ride, right? So you're going to, you learn. So you start slowly, learn at every stage, every new technique. You start slowly, you learn it, and you grow in confidence, and you have that feedback of intelligence and wisdom. And you see how it affects your life, and then you gain confidence in it. Right? So, back straight. So we're going to do light breathing. Right? And we're going to start, men are going to block the left nostril and blow out the right nose, and women are going to block the right nostril and exhale through the left nose. So 3 times. That's set. And then so you're going to inhale through both, and then exhale through that one nostril 3 times, and then we're going to inhale. So each time we're inhaling with both, okay? Exhaling through one, and at the end, 3 times we're exhaling through both. So working with the left and the right, and then exhaling through both. We work through the central channel, and then we just do it, rest calmly, and be present. Okay? So use your thumb for men. I'll explain to block. So we're going to inhale, thumb against the left for the man, and then the first finger against the right for women. Okay? All right, so just close your eyes. Good hand posture. Light breaths. We're going to go really easy because I can only go really easy right now. And it's good for people to start slow. Okay? So we're going to do inhale, just light inhale. Hold it slightly, light hold. And then just left nose for men, block, exhale. Hold out. Inhale. Hold. Light exhale. So for men, we've exhaled through the left nostril. Inhale. For men, we're blocking the left, exhaling through the right. Exhale. Inhale. Block a nostril. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. I think we have one more, right? Inhale. Exhale. If there's one more, do it. I'm not sure. I've just been too focused on the explanation. And then inhale and let it exhale through both nostrils. Exhale. Hold it. Lightly hold. Inhale. Lightly hold. Exhale. Both. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. I think there's one more time. Exhale. Be present. Feel your energy, feel how it is. Mine's moving a little faster. A little agitated. Just relax. So if you feel a little bit, just relax into it and don't resist the energy and just allow the body to absorb it. Just open to it, and then you'll find the energetic level just soften because of the lack of resistance. And you open and it gets absorbed in, and then there's a new flow. Just sit and open and relax, gentle. Say a name of God now. If that name doesn't agitate you, it should be a name that brings calm and healing to you. So if you use several names, it should be the one that feels whole, not one that might trigger energy. And just say a prayer and just say the name and allow that energy to come into your body and bring that care and love and golden light. You could say a quick prayer. It's a powerful open space that you've created of alignment. Okay. So I think people are beginning to realize that when one clears the space, there's a very, very powerful, very pregnant space that we can connect with God at the end of the pranayama. We can say God's name and feel His presence and ask for a blessing and the healing. And that even really sort of is very powerful because we've cleared some of that energy blockages and we're in a very receptive place. And as I was explaining, the breath might have been too fast. You really want to go slowly. So let me explain here, just listen. So it's a slow inhale and exhale. So I was trying to guide at the same time, and I was wondering maybe, it was a little fast at the beginning. As you get more familiar, it could be a more intense inhale and a more intense exhale, but that could unlock a lot of things. That's really going against that beaver dam, right? So we're just so it's just right now, just very light. So it's inhale. By the way, you're inhaling always from the nostrils. There's no mouth here. Okay, so it's inhaling from the nose, just an inhale. Even that's a little much. Just go slowly. Hold, then exhale. Inhale. Hold. Hold. Out. Inhale. It's subtle. I did it a little louder so it could be heard, but it's more like this. So maybe turn up the volume so you could hear it. It's light at the beginning, right? So we're going to go light. So it's more like this. Gentle and light. Right? And when you hold it, you don't hold it too long and you don't hold it with pressure. So we're not putting strain or pressure at any point. It's a slow. You hold it lightly, but not so the pressure builds up. So you hold it a second or two, and then you go the other way. Okay? And at the end, you can stay there and pray for a while. Say God's name. Continue with the rest of your practice. So this is why it's done at the beginning. Do you see how our minds are more settled? I'm speaking slower. You see, it's calmer. So it's a good way why a lot of people do it at the beginning of their practice. It settles the mind, and then you can go into your prayer. Or all you could do is just a pranayama practice. But I invite you to bring God into it like we did at the beginning, and ask God to assist our practice and to keep it safe and for it to be fruitful. And that brings God into it. So it's not just working with the breath, but it becomes a form of prayer. So my friends, thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope this practice blesses you and your lives. It's a beautiful practice. It has greatly helped me on my journey. And I hope it blesses you on yours. So thank you for joining me this week. And I hope you have a blessed week. And I look forward to being with you all next week. Bye-bye.